To make our demographic table, we are going to do the following. One, we're going to summarize continuous and discrete demographic variables. Two, we're going to perform statistical analysis for group comparisons, and we can generate p-values using ANOVA or Fisher exact test or chi-square test. And three, we're going to tabulate the results, and we're going to summarize the descriptive statistics as well as the outputs for the demographic scattering table. And the most important point I want to make is that as a professional SAS program in the pharmaceutical industry, we're going to use PROC report. The fourth, we're going to perform simple data edit checks and program code validation. And fifth, we're going to provide adequate program documentation. That means in the program itself, we're going to give enough comments as much as we can to make the flow of the thought clearly presented. And the sixth, we're going to create patient demographic listing. The last one we are going to do is to create histogram for aging variable to test the normality assumption. Now with that aim set, what are the steps for making a demographic table? And what data steps and what procedures we need to use to make it successful? And lastly, what are the key points that we need to pay attention to? Well, to answer these questions, we need to have a whole picture of making a demographic table. These would include the following steps. The step one, we need to get in the data. Now, how many ways to get in the data? Well, we have already used the PROC import, but there are other alternatives. The DDE is one example, and you can also use and convert Excel into CSV file or even just a plain text file, and then use data step to input the data directly. That is the step one, get in the data. The step two, you need to obtain necessary statistics as specified by your table shell. So what kind of variables we have? We have categorical and we have continuous. And then what kind of selection criteria? We have the ITT population and how to get statistics and where to put them. Well, the most often used procedures for continuous variable, or you can definitely use PROC-mean, but in the industry we use PROC-univariate most often, and for categorical variables we use PROC-freq. And these two procedures are mostly used for obtaining descriptive statistics, that is summary, standard deviation, mean, median, as well as the percentages. In step 3, we need to get the p-values. That involves inferential statistics. And for obtaining the p-value, for comparing the different groups in the table, we mostly use the PROC-freq and the PROC-mixed. And proc-next takes into consideration that there are random factors involved. And at the same time, it also assumes the normality of the data. If the normality doesn't hold, then we need to go to a non-parametric. That involves proc, non-par one way. And the fourth is the four. After we got all these statistics, we need to measure it. We need to merge or to set or format, and we need to get all these totals. So we need to format them into characters rather than just numeric. And the last step, we are going to use a proc report to present the final results. So the thought flow would be just like we get in the data, we get the descriptive statistics, and we get the inferential statistic results, and we combine all these results, and then we proc report it. We just report it using proc report. So you can see these 5 steps are just a major step that you need to take to make a demographic table. So what are the tools for SAS programmer? If you look at this, the thought flow, and you compare what you have learned from SAS, and you can see you use proc report. You need to use ODS. For the ODS output, you have a few choices. One is RTF format, another is PDF, another is HTML, and lastly, you have the Excel. So the choice is really determined by the needs for your company. But for the majority outputs, we use RTF. That is the file that can be opened by Word. But for some time, we also produce PDF, HTML. Okay, and for retrieving data, we have ProcFreq, ProcMe, and ProcUnivariate. And for manipulating the data, one of the most important thing we need to do is to do transpose, to convert the vertical into the horizontal data structure, or the vice versa. So we have proc transpose. And for making the graphs, we have proc plot or proc gplot. So we can make the graph, the figures that are necessary. Now, the next question would be how to do real programming. Well, I'll show you the real program that we did before, so that you can have some example to follow.